Welcome back. Mr. Green, I see you've joined us. Nice to see you again. Thank you for being available and online. As you all know, we had a very eventful week with the tabling of 3 new Auditor General reports. I'll turn to that in a second. I just want to update the members that the Commissioner of the RCMB has confirmed his attendance here on June 18th. So that is something the members can expect. I've called this meeting to bring us up to speed. Mr. Nader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And I am going to move a motion, and we've had some offline discussions and open to more offline discussions, but I think we can come to an agreement. I'm going to read the motion, and then I'm going to. It is prepared to be emailed.
Yeah, let me just ask you this. Is this something that you've worked with the clerk on that can be sent out as you begin?
It can be sent out as I begin speaking, and then I want to speak to it after I've read in the motion, if that, just to say a few things, and then we can
absolutely
go from there, Chair.
Yes. No, but I think Mr. Green is getting in the queue. Is it a point of order, Mr. Green? Yeah, he's in the queue. Yeah, so I see that. So over to you, Mr. Nader.
So I'm gonna say the motion. And I'm gonna say a quick word about some of the conversations where we'd be open to some options here. But the motion is as follows: given that the Auditor General's Report 6/2024 on SDTC, which revealed, quote, significant lapses in governance and stewardship of public funds and rampant conflicts of interest among SDTC board members pursuant to Standing Order 1083G, the committee commenced a study on this audit and invite the following witnesses to testify before the House adjourns for the summer. François-Philippe Champagne, Minister of Industry. Simon Kennedy, Deputy Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development, Canada. Francis Bilodeau, Assistant Deputy Minister, Innovation, Science and Economic Development, Canada. Paul Booth, Acting Chair of SDTC Canada. Ziad Ram, Acting President of Sustainable Development Technology, Canada. The anonymous whistleblower who appeared at the Industry Committee on this matter on December 11th, 2023. Privy Council Secretariat responsible for appointments. Mitch Davies, President of the National Research Council, and Conrad von Finkenstein, Ethics Commissioner. And the committee book extra resources as required to accommodate these witness appearances. So that's the motion. Chair, do you want me to pause for a second before I offer a few quick comments? Or
no, I don't think so. I'll just check with the clerk. Have you been able to send it out, clerk? It's gone, so go ahead, Mr. Nader.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. And we have had some informal conversation on this side. I haven't had a chance to run over and speak with the Liberal counterparts, but I think if we could come to an agreement on this, I think we could get this done relatively quickly, both in terms of the vote, but also the study before we rise for summer. Specifically, I think if there would be an agreement to host one of these 2-hour meetings in our normal time slot, and then with additional resources have a second 1-hour meeting. I'm open to suggestions on the day, and I know colleagues might have a suggestion of where those extra resources might be. But if we can come to an agreement on that, I think we could move forward on this fairly quickly. And I'm open to conversations on this. But I think the priority would be try to get this done with these priority witnesses before the House rises for the summer.
Thank you very much. I will continue to scan the room looking for speakers, or people that want to speak to the motion. Mr. Green, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And this feels a little bit like Groundhog Day. I had a chance to sit in committee with some of the members that are in this committee and earlier today. And this one kind of feels like the never-ending story, Mr. Chair. I guess you guys are into your, 6th hour or something like that today? There seems to be a lot of hours in this committee that are piling up here. Look, the truth is I'm keenly interested in seeing, asking some really tough questions and seeing exactly what transpired with SDTC. Those that have followed along in ethics will know that to be the case. This is something that we've delved into, and I'm sure we're going to revisit, as tends to be the habit of our conservative friends, to bring these types of motions to all committees they sit at. And in fact, as I referenced, some of these members are here today. So again, as well kind of documented in my time on ethics, I am unwilling to support this kind of blank check of available resources as necessary. We have 25 members. We're all very stretched on our committee work, and I'm sitting in for somebody, so I'm not willing to commit their time as they're in travel right now. So what I'd like to do, Mr. Chair, is amend the motion, because I do support it in principle. We do, as do Democrats, support it, to strike the section of available resources and replace it with in regularly scheduled meetings, during regularly scheduled meetings. So that's the amendment that I'd like to propose. It's very similar to amendments that I've proposed that these members will be familiar at in our ethics committee, and is in keeping with the way that we're treating the rest of this session. I'll just say in close, Mr. Williamson, that we are in the final weeks of this session. This is certainly something that has been on the dockets for quite some time. It's definitely important. New Democrats believe it is important to provide accountability on this file. In terms of its urgency and warranting, the ability to meet in extended hours when we're already stretched with our committee responsibilities, I'm not sure is going to be wise for us. And I'll just say something that folks may or may not have taken into consideration is that there's a possibility in these upcoming weeks here with the pending strike with CBSA that our airports and travel, all types of things can go sideways over these next couple of weeks, given what's before us. So for that reason, I'm putting forward the amendment to keep it within your regularly scheduled meetings so that we can deal with it in due course. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Green, I'm just going to comment just briefly, because it's my habit to kind of flag any issues or kind of scheduling crunches. I can say right off the top, just to inform members, that we do have 2 open slots. So what Mr. Green's proposing is something that, as chair, I can certainly work with if this is the will of the committee. So thank you, Mr. Green. And I'd ask you to put your hand down. So unless you want to get in the queue again, in which case just keep it up. But I'll turn now to Madame Sécla-Desgagnés. Vous avez la parole, s'il vous plaît. Puis après ça, j'ai deux membres du gouvernement.
So when you mention that there are 2 different possibilities here, what dates are you talking about? We're going to receive the RCMP here. So could you tell us when the RCMP is available? The RCMP is on June 18th. We have opened up the 13th and the 20th. June.
D'accord. Parfait. Merci pour l'information.
Great, thank you. I agree with the principle of the motion as well, and I would support the amendment of Mr. Green.
Très bien. Merci beaucoup. Suivant, it's Ms. Khalidi of the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. And I really do appreciate Mr. Green's comments because I think that we do need to be a little bit more cognizant about House resources and what our next couple of weeks look like. And I do think that we should not be coming back here on a matter that is important but is not urgent, as Mr. Green said. So I think that perhaps we can delve into what that amendment looks like in the main motion. So, Chair, with your indulgence, I'm wondering if you can suspend for a little while we see what the amended motion looks like.
I'm going to read it. If there's a will, I will certainly suspend. But I think it's in the last line it says, "And the committee book extra resources as required to accommodate these witness appearances." I'm going to look for the clerk for a little guidance here. I believe it's being changed to committee book.
It's existing meeting. Like I just wrote it in my own.
Okay, so. Yeah, that the committee, basically the committee sits in its scheduled time.
So just, again, seeking a little bit of clarification, Chair. So if that's the case and that's the wording of the motion as, the amendment as presented, would that still give you the discretion to call meetings over the summer or unscheduled meetings on different matters?
Well, that's so as I'll just state what the standing orders state is that this committee can either be recalled by members or by the chair. This motion has no bearing on that. My ability to call a meeting is one that is stated in the standing orders. This motion, as I read it, is about commencing a study, and between now and when we rise in the next 2 weeks, to use, based on what the amendment to the motion is to sit on this study only when we are designated to sit. And by my read, just for disclosure, is that there are 2 opportunities to do that, given that we have the RCMP as confirmed for June 18th.
So just on that then, Chair, would you be able to call a meeting on this same subject matter outside of what is being proposed in this amendment?
I might have to just check with the clerk on that, because I'd like to be guided by.
Would you like to suspend as you?
Sure, I think there is a willingness to kind of talk, so why don't, well, yeah, I'll, but I'd like to spend just for like a minute to 2 minutes. So is that okay?
That's fair, Chair.
So I'm just going to read the amendment to the motion that was provided by the NDP to me, so we're very clear. And the committee accommodate these witnesses, comma, during regular committee meetings. So I take that, just period, and so just for transparency, I take that as the meetings would be scheduled on June 13th and 20th. So, Ms. Khalid, you had the floor when we last talked to you. You asked me a question. I'll give you the answer. It's pretty much what I said before. Nothing in this motion or outside this motion, if you pass this motion or if this motion is defeated, my ability to call a meeting in the summer is in the standing orders. I do retain that. Ability, and you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So perhaps I just want to ask you, are you intending to call meetings over the summer?
So I am not intending to call. However, I know there's been discussions amongst the parties. I understand there's some goodwill, and I am going to do my best to have us spend as much time as possible in our ridings. But I can truthfully and honestly say I am not intending to call meetings. Okay. I believe next was Ms. Shanahan.
Oh, Mr. Green.
Oh, I do have Mr. Green, but is it's Mr. Green? I do recognize you, but you're fourth on the list. Is that okay? So we'll come back to you. So again, I want to stress we are debating the amendment to the motion. Instead of asking for extra resources, it is to schedule the time on the 13th and the 20th. Ms. Shanahan, then I have Mr. Nader, and then Mr. Green.
I'll keep it short. I think there were good faith discussions, and we certainly are in agreement with the amendment put forward by Mr. Green.
Thank you. Mr. Nader?
I'll keep it equally short. We also support the amendment.
Okay. Mr. Green, the floor is back to you, and then if there's no other interveners, we'll turn to the vote. But of course, I cannot call that vote until the debate is collapsed. You have the floor, Mr. Green.
I don't want to waste any of the goodwill, but I will say that one of the practices that we have at committees, and I used to serve on the Public Accounts Committee. I know it's a space that tends to be less partisan in its at its best operations, less partisan than most. But I would say that the practice was always to have a subcommittee that planned meetings. And I know in ethics we ran into a challenge where the chair took it upon himself, even though it's within the standing orders, to call a meeting without any consultation to anybody else, particularly opposition parties. And I would just say to you, John, that it didn't go well. So I would encourage, whether it's this committee or others, that the Conservative side, when they're chairing, understand that without consultation to the opposition parties in particular, to Bloc and the NDP, that at least from my perspective, that becomes a pretty significant problem. So I'll take you at your word that that's not the case, and look forward to seeing this motion pass so we can go back to our evenings. Thank you.
Sure. And just to bring, since you've inquired and others, this committee did at its last meeting pass and approve the first subcommittee decision, not just of my chair, but of the 44th Parliament. So it had not been a practice, but we have reinstated it as a working process, and we'll continue to do that. But as you know as well, the reason why some of these committees, the oversight committees, are chaired by opposition members is to ensure oversight, and that's why the standing rules are written the way they are. And I believe that when this chair was held by one of your former colleagues, that of course he was both cautious to exercise it, but did so diligently as well. Clerk, could you call the vote, please, then on Mr. Green's amendment to the motion?
Shall the amendment of Mr. Green be